folks. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. What's happening?
Sam Healey.
This is video number 3 in our overview of the different games coming out at GenCon 2015, where we give you our totally uninformed, well, sometimes it's informed opinions on them. We are starting with one of the biggest games from a company making its first time appearance at GenCon, and that's CGE, and the game is Codenames from them. Now, I'm sure that they will have some of their other games there, probably, you know, all their Vlada Shvato games.
Right.
But this Codenames is a password-style party game that, other than Zee Garcia, has really been taking the world by storm. I mean, the game world, everybody is really pumped. This one is going to sell out.
Yes.
It's going to sell out.
And again, you're right that I'm not a huge fan of it, but I might be the only person so far. So I gotta.
You haven't even played it yet. You can't.
It doesn't. It has no appeal to me so far.
Oh, I really, really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, everybody seems to like it, so check it out at the very least. Look into it. It just, to me, it's a party game where there is no party atmosphere whatsoever. And so I have a hard time sort of dealing with that. But again, that might be my own bias towards this style of game. Everybody seems to have a really interesting and fun time with it. It's an original game. I got to give it that. So thumbs up for originality. And when I first looked at the game, I thought it was going to implode because it doesn't seem like it should work, this idea, this concept. But it works.
It does. All right, what's next here, Z?
All right, and then we have from Cheapass Games, we have Stuff and Nonsense coming out, which is a set collection game. It's basically a humorous spin on a set collection game. It seems all right. This is not my type of game. Typically, I like humor in games. I just don't like forced humor in games. That's sort of a hard thing to explain. But when the humor is because you read a card and it's funny, how funny could that be after you've played 5 times? You know, if the game generates humor, good. This one just seems like a set collection game with some funny writing on the cards and such. Not my thing. And I really hope that it doesn't play up the whole telling a story part of the game.
Because we need more of them.
I really don't like that stuff. All right.
Chip Theory is making a game called Hoplomachus Origins. Now, I don't remember if I taught you Hoplomachus.
Hoplomachus.
That was that game with chips where you had guys fighting in an arena, and there were poker chips, and there were stacks of chips. When you took damage, the chips went away. I don't know if you have played that one.
Have you played that? Would you
remember
if you had?
I would have remembered hating it probably.
No, I liked the game. It was like a light tactical game, and I mean it was a way to do hit points. So you just move and you just took chips off your stack.
You gotta move all those chips with it.
Well, that's not hard to pick up a stack of chips. I mean, okay.
And when I saw the cover, when I started reading about it, I thought, ooh, this sounds like a big, heavy, scary game. Probably not going to be into it. But then I read it's like 15, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
if it's anything like the first one,
just
super
an
light.
Arena.
Yeah.
You're rolling some dice. You're fighting each other. So it's like, okay.
It's like a little waterfall-y looking the board.
Cover? The board looks like an arena, a hexagonal arena.
Maybe the board has a. I remember having it being like there's an arena.
Well, again, that could be one of the other
there's
games.
a waterfall down here, and
this is like the third release, I think, in this line.
Maybe.
So it sounds all right. I'm not sure I'm going to be digging it, but it didn't. And when I first approached it, it didn't seem like my thing. And the more I researched it, I went, okay, yeah,
you might like this. Actually,
sounds like a cool tactical arena fighting game.
I gave it a 2, I think, based on the artwork.
All right.
Because I'm middle of the road, but if it's aesthetically pleasing and there's a decent game there, I usually will go behind it. So that's why I gave it a 2.
The next booth is merged together. Dice Hate Me Games has been bought by Greater Than Games. Mm-hmm. So you'll probably see their newest Sentinels expansion, which I forget the name because there's a lot of them. And they have a lot of they've released a lot of games recently, so they're going to be building on that, all their rabbits and all that. But their new ones, they have an expansion for Compound It, the Geiger expansion. I really like Compound It, so I was excited to see an expansion for that.
You don't like Compound It?
I like it.
I don't like it either, but I know Tom likes it a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And deck building, the deck building game. The joke within the joke.
Oh.
It might be a good game. We don't know. I mean, it looks interesting.
It looks it's fine. It sounds really light. I mean, when
You're building a deck by
you're building like a deck, like a
your
patio
deck.
deck.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
building a deck by building your deck.
I mean, we looked at this at Origins. It sounds okay, but I think the game's like 5 minutes.
What?
Yeah, it's like you play as many
It's
rounds.
really, really short.
Yeah, it's like, you're building a deck, but really it's an extremely light game. It didn't captivate me because I think the joke...
Is that your thing?
Yes, that's my thing now today. Come
I
on.
can't teach anybody that game based on that joke with the people I play with, so that's out. And 5 minutes for a game that's not very attractive.
You're probably going to have to spend more time teaching the game than you are actually playing the game.
Again, it was a really short... Maybe I'm exaggerating, but like 10 minutes is not unheard of.
Our next game just showed up at my house a couple days ago, so I haven't had a chance to play it. Just looked at the pieces for it. And that's Warband Against the Darkness from Dyskami. Is that how you say it? Dyskami Games?
That sounds good to me.
It looks interesting. I like the artwork. It's another fantasy game with more fantasy stuff.
How do you get rid of the stupid typing board?
You press down there.
Thank you.
So anyway, that one's one you were interested in this one.
Yes.
So we'll have a chance to find out soon.
Although Eric just played it.
Summerer?
Yes.
Summerer!
He just played it and he tweeted that it's very Euro-y.
Ooh, did he like it? Would that worry you?
Come on, it's Eric. He probably did.
He loved it.
But he said very Euro-y for the theme.
So
Sam's interested.
So I just went...
All right.
So we'll see. I don't know.
All right, now it's time for my favorite part of doing these things. The next company is Fantasy Flight Games. And if you notice, they're not on our list because they never announce anything.
Okay. We're looking at the list going, wait, what? What?
I get to guess every year. However, we can make some really educated guesses. We actually know one game that they're launching there, and that's a new Game of Thrones LCG, the re-release second edition.
Right.
Which all the people who play the first edition are screaming, "Why are you doing a second edition? We hate you. We hate you."
This is
Whatever.
the LCG?
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't do collectible card games anymore.
Right, but they're relaunching the LCG,
Yes.
and meaning what happens to everything old of the
I think it's like its own contained game, and this is a new game. I don't know if there's
Based
any.
on how
They should call it something
ticked
else.
off
like-
everybody is, maybe that has something to do with
They
it.
should call it like Game of Crowns or something.
All right, so here's what I think.
It's taken already.
Here's what I think they're going to have. I feel pretty confident about a lot of these. Some of these I'm guessing. I'm pretty confident they'll have the next wave of X-Wing stuff there.
Yeah.
And they'll have wave 2 of Armada ships there.
Yeah.
And I think they'll have wave 2 of Imperial Assault there.
Yes.
Okay? They'll at least have 2 of those 3. Okay? But Star Wars figures, they'll just sell like crazy. And the X-Wing they've been talking about for a long time. And the Armada, they announced they were showing models off at the Gamma Trade Show.
Yes.
So I feel like they could be there.
They're ready, I think.
They also just announced a new game, Mafia. They're doing their own werewolf game, Mafia. And I feel like...
Why?
Mafia de Cuba.
Cuba?
Oh, Mafia de Fantasy Flight.
Actually, I think it's called Mafia Vendetta. Or
Right, and again, we don't know.
No. This one looks really close to werewolf or Mafia.
It seems weird to me. Do we really...
Okay, but because it's like that,
I don't know.
I feel like it's going to be there. Because they showed the artwork and everything, it's a small
right.
game, it's going to be at...
Yeah.
And I'm hoping Mission Red Planet will be there.
That's gotta be there.
Yeah, don't you feel like it? Because it's supposed to be released in August, which is not that far away. You'd be happy, right?
Oh!
And I also think they will have Samurai there. That's the second announced release in their Euro game line. The first was Tigers and Euphrates.
You think they're ready for that?
I think it will be there.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but I mean, they don't have to do like any development on the game. They just have to make the pieces.
Right. That's
Okay, now they're going to announce a pile of stuff there, so I always try to guess what they're going to announce. Sometimes they even will show a game off there, or they'll release a game, but they haven't done that recently. They just announce stuff.
Right.
So I racked my brains what they announce. I can only come up with 2 things.
What do we got?
One is the same thing I always say.
Star Wars, Twilight Imperium.
No, I don't think it'll be Star Wars. But I think they're going to do something special because it is the 10th anniversary of Twilight Imperium.
Why would they not make it Star Wars?
Because of the board game license being owned by Hasbro. They can do miniatures, which is how they got away with doing Imperial Assault, because it's technically a miniatures tactical game in there and all that. So
You're telling me they couldn't do that with Twilight?
Well, maybe they can. I don't know. But I mean, if they did do Star Wars Twilight Imperium 3, there'd be a lot of people with peed pants, I think.
Star Wars The Twilight Force.
That sounds horrible.
No?
You just lost your game naming guru
Okay, how about
status.
this? Star Wars R2?
Just stop, Z.
Anyhow, but maybe they'll have some new box and some new second edition of the third edition. I'm hesitant they'll say they're going to come out with TI-3-4 or TI-4.
TI-3-4?
Shut up. But
That's the best name.
Talking about sounding horrible.
And the reason I said it is because like 3 or 4 months ago, they just reprinted the second expansion for Twilight Imperium, and that would seem like an odd thing.
So you think if they come out with anything Twilight Imperium, it's going to have to be compatible with what's already out there?
I don't know. Maybe they'll announce another expansion, but does it need another expansion?
No, it does not need another expansion.
I don't know. Well, either way, they're going to announce
It's
something.
already as big as it is. That's one of the few games that I think, if they never come out with anything else for it,
because it's
good.
it's so much, right.
They'll probably also announce something Star Wars related.
What in the world?
They're going to announce that Battle Lords.
That's like going into a tournament. I believe somebody's going to win.
They're going to announce more expansions for Battle Lord. They'll announce more expansions for all their lines, right? So what new game might they come up with? I think they're going to come up with a new version of Runebound. Not maybe Runebound itself, because I don't think they're working with Martin Wallace anymore or anything, but their own adventure-style game, because they don't currently have an adventure-style game other than The Witcher, and The Witcher's kind of wasn't really adventure-style.
Right.
It was more of, I don't know what kind of style that was. But I think they'll announce some kind of adventure-style game, maybe based on a property, since they're doing that a lot. Maybe even a Star Wars adventure-style game, which would be kind of interesting.
They already kind of did that, though.
No, I'm not talking about a tactical go through a dungeon. If you remember Runebound, you went from location to location and things came up. I think they'll have something like that they'll announce. But that's just me guessing. So, anyway.
I think that they're going to come up with a game somewhere between their Star Wars RPG games and their tactical games, still using a Star Wars license. So, meaning a story-driven Star Wars game.
I thought about putting something like that on the list, but I don't know. I mean,
That sounds
that's
pretty close.
ambitious.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing Star Wars RPG. That's ambitious. I mean, I think they're going to try to do... Because they keep doing these games that don't hit, like The Last Banquet. It's this like story-heavy game, but no theme. Or Bloodbound was like this socially heavy, game, but again, forgettable. I think they're going to try to do something in that vein with Star Wars. And see if that'll take off.
I wonder, maybe, I don't know, this is just a thought that popped in there. Maybe they'll try
Star
to
Wars
tap...
Farkle?
We'll talk about that later. Maybe a more tailored toward kids Star Wars games that uses the miniatures and stuff like that. Maybe like Epic Duels or Vane, something to that effect, where it's a lighter Star Wars game that
I guess, but I think they're going to do
snap
something that's
into.
also not Star Wars, right? Because they're not going to be the Star Wars company. They still have their whole...
they're not going to be. They are.
No, but they also have their license for Terranoth or whatever that universe is called that their fantasy stuff's in, right?
Right.
And then Descent seems to... They're still making those monster packs, but they haven't released any new expansion. In fact, there may be a new Descent expansion there, but they haven't released one for a while.
I think they're going to announce the next game in the classics line is going to be Blue Moon City.
You're hoping. Okay, well that's Fantasy Flight. Then we get to Fireside Games, and they'll be really pushing, of course, their new expansion for Castle Panic.
What does the L mean?
The L here just means that there's limited amounts. I think they have 100 copies or something.
Of the Village Crone.
Of the Village Crone.
Right.
That's their other game. A Village Crone. This is one that they haven't really pushed that much. They haven't talked about it as much as they talk about Castle Panic.
No. I mean, I saw an unboxing video from Fireside, and it seems like a gather stuff and then turn it around to make spells kind of game. I'm again going to have to say I'm really cautiously optimistic on this one. I like Fireside Games as a company. I think they're a very smart company, and they keep doing smarter and smarter things. But they also made that Bloodsuckers game, and that was a huge miss for me. And I'm afraid this falls back in line with that.
All right,
So
well,
I'm worried. I'm hoping it's great, but looking at it, it didn't captivate me. And again, cautious optimism from me.
Floodgate Games is coming out with Vault Wars. Floodgate Games did the that Monster Resort game that we played last year, which looked great, had some great ideas, and ultimately just didn't play out as well as we wanted it to. I'm hoping this one does better. I like the idea. I think here you're fighting over...
It's like Storage Wars.
This is what I got.
That's exactly what it is, man.
That's what I got. Actually, I went into it thinking, another miniatures fighting game. And it's not. It's a bidding game.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like boxes or like Storage Wars.
Well, boxes, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Flying Frog is coming out with, not as far as I can tell, they told me, no new games. Instead, they have a ton. I think there's like
52.
No, but there's like 12 or so different expansions and items for the Shadows over Brimstone.
So, when we ever gonna play that game, buddy?
I ran into the guy who's putting the miles together, and he's halfway done.
What? Oh my goodness!
Building them under molasses. Everything he can make.
And they also have some of their expansions for their deck building game that came out last year.
Gothic.
Yes. So that's basically all their new stuff is new expansions. So if you like those games, go to the booth. Otherwise, there's nothing new to see there.
He's had that for a year now.
A little bit
There
less.
is no way.
That game is now in Mexico.
Funforge. I like Funforge stuff. I think they're at the Passport booth, Warehouse 51. Funforge is one of those companies that I will always check out their games.
Yeah.
Because they're always interesting. I may not always like them,
Right.
but I always check them out.
Well, I definitely want to check this one out, but the more I read up on it, the more my fire diminished.
His research keeps making him unhappy,
I know,
right? He's
right?
like, oh, the game looked good. Then I
sometimes
read
it makes
about
me-
it.
Like Vault Wars made me happier. Like once
Oh,
I
okay.
found, it's a bidding game. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
some
Yeah.
tactical miniatures game. This one looks great. I knew it was about finding like freaky artifacts in some warehouse and then taking them and using them. Cool.
Yeah.
Brutal for duty.
Yeah.
Working with the same guys who did Sheriff of Nottingham, who did Formula E. The game is a blind bidding game about getting like these artifacts. I don't know. Blind bidding?
Blind bidding, huh?
Are we past that at this point?
Yeah.
I'm worried about that.
All right. And that's it for this episode, folks. We'll be back with some more, starting with the letter G next time. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Garcia.
Healey.